In the Holy God calendar, year 447, it was an age when gods, spirits, and sorcery ruled the world. Leonis Death Magnus, the last of the demon lords, reigned over the capital city of Necrozo, where the battle between the demon lord army and the 6 heroes comes to an end. Skeleton soldiers are crushed by the roots of gigantic trees sprouting from the ground beneath them. These are being controlled by a beautiful woman who also showers magic arrows from the sky that heal the human soldiers' wounds and revive them so they are ready to battle again. The Transcendent Castle, the Dark Dragon Mountains, and the great underwater citadel that has already fallen. A maid and a wolf report this news to their leader, Leonis. Only their fortress, Deathhold, remains intact but is currently under heavy attack. Leonis observes all this in his magic crystal ball. Too bad for the crystal that ends up being crushed. He plans to incinerate them all with his flames of darkness. However, his wolf, yes, the great demon lord has a talking wolf, advises him that neither he nor the goddess of rebellion, Roselia, would like to see Leonis fall here. He agrees because he remembers the promise he made her. Thus, this time Leonis decides to graciously accept his defeat. However, he is the undead king and will rise again in 1,000 years to reclaim his place on the throne. In the present day, 2 girls go over their mission in front of a skull-shaped cave entrance. The 18th platoon will investigate the underground ruins that were uncovered by the earthquake and locate the void nest therein. Self-defense is the only kind of combat permitted. Regina warns the white-haired girl, Celia, not to get too carried away. However, Celia tells her voids are the type of creatures that build their nests deep inside underground ruins, so they can't afford to let them run wild. They come across giant statues that are grave goods buried along with the deceased, and they wonder if there's a king's tomb down there. There is in fact, and not just any king, the demon lord. They come across a door with strange markings on it, and while Celia investigates it, Regina goes off to explore. Celia feels like she has seen those engravings somewhere before, and the door opens as soon as she touches them. She enters a corridor dimly lit with purple flames, and she suddenly experiences a counter failure. Could there have been a worse moment? She sees a giant purple crystal and sees a shadowy figure inside it. The hero in her wants to save whoever is stuck inside. When Leonis decided to be reincarnated, he finally met Roselia, who told him that when the stars fall, a millennium from now a vessel for his power shall appear in the form of a human child. She flies away after she tells him to come find her. Leonis suddenly regained consciousness inside the crystal. He was disturbed by Celia's gunshots as she's trying to free him, because he thought his mausoleum was entirely inaccessible. Nevertheless, he breaks free from inside and decides to inflict punishment upon the scoundrel Celia. He stops when she sees how beautiful she sees and thinks she's some higher species of elf. She's worried about how a child was trapped inside, and that's when Leonis catches a glimpse of his reflection in the crystal. Why did he have to be reincarnated a 10-year-old back as when he was called Leonis the hero? Well, he's not having the best day, but Celia is so worried about him that she hugs him with her chest in his face. He's too short, but still seems to have enjoyed the sensation. She decides she's going to take care of him like an older sister, but he's devastated because his body is laughably pathetic. How could a demon lord pass out from hunger? She gives him some food and introduces herself as Roselia Ray Cristelia, 15, a swordsman or woman in training and member of the 18th platoon at the 7th Assault Gardens Excalibur Academy. He tells her he's Leonis and expects her to be intimidated, thinking his story has been passed down generations as a legend. But she just thinks he's super cute. Anyways, she thinks there's no way he could be trapped down here on his own and asks if he was kidnapped by a void. Leonis has no idea what a void is, neither does any regular person, and she explains that voids are enemies of humankind that appeared 64 years ago. That's pretty accurate. Meanwhile, Regina's countersenses some movement and she activates her weapon, Holy Sword Drag Howl. Celia further says that they don't know what the voids are or what they want, but it's assumed they're from another world. But that's just one of the several theories about them. Since there's such little information about them, they're called voids as in nothingness. That's the least enlightening explanation Leonis has ever heard. He's forgotten to ask the most important question of all about what year it is on the Holy God's calendar. He's expected 1447 after 1,000 years, but Celia tells him it's year 64 of the unified human calendar. Suddenly, the cave begins to shake and Regina warns Celia through her earpiece that a colossal void has been detected, and she's currently engaged in combat. Suddenly, the monster enters a chamber they are inside and Celia identifies it as Ogre Class. Leonis won't allow the destruction of the subterranean mausoleum any further because his comrades are buried there, but his small body prevents him from taking any action. Celia continues to shoot it with her gun, but it doesn't do any damage, and they're saved by Regina, just in time. Regina realizes they won't get anywhere with those attacks and upgrades her weapon to Drag Blast. Leonis is surprised when he hears her say Holy Sword and sees the light that emerges from it, but it's not magic. Her weapon's output was on par with a Phase 4 explosion spell, but the monster still stands. Regina holds off the beast while Leonis holds Celia's hand and they run outside. Nothing is going according to plan. The reincarnation failed. He's stuck in this child's body and is in no position to revive his kingdom, and the void creatures have wreaked havoc on his mausoleum. He decides to hide his identity as the Demon Lord to extract more information from Celia, but on their way to the surface, they are attacked by another Wyvern-class void. Leonis sees it has wings, but that's where the similarities end. His patience has reached its limit, but just as he's about to attack and risk exposing his identity, Celia pushes him out of the way and ends up getting injured instead. She lies in a pool of her blood on the ground, and they're surrounded by several voids. Leonis is upset that she's died protecting him. He might have also developed a slight liking towards her, so he finally unleashes all his Demon Lord powers. He summons his scepter and burns the voids to a crisp in a series of heavy explosions. However, he does find it preposterous that its bones managed to survive Phase 8 sorcery, but he also realizes that in this body his magic powers are a third of what they used to be during his glory days. He continues to say he's a Demon Lord, so an ordinary human's life does not matter to him. However, he wants to pay tribute to such a noble soul as Celia's. She risked her life to protect him, though protecting a Demon Lord is all advised, but he praises her courage and fortitude. Since his sorcery expertise lies in the realm of death, he's not even capable of rudimentary healing spells, but he tries his best. Leonis brings Celia back to life, and she hugs him, glad he's safe. He can hear Regina calling out through her earpiece, but doesn't have the faintest idea how to use this advanced technological device. Celia is in disbelief as to how she survived, but these humans don't know what sorcery is even when Leonis tries to explain it. She asks if it's some kind of holy sword power and explains that Excalibur Academy has documented cases of holy swords with healing powers. Maybe he should just go along with it. He still doesn't understand what a holy sword is, so Celia tells him that holy swords are a type of power that arose in humans to help them fight the voids. When the voids first appeared decades ago, children with mysterious abilities began popping up all over, mostly in the form of weapons, modified to fit their master's personality. Leonis understands these are souls that physically manifest as weapons. Drag Howl is Regina's holy sword, but she doesn't have one of her own yet. Regina catches up with them, and they all leave the ruins together. She introduces herself as Regina Mercedes, Celia's maid. On the motorbike ride back to the city, Regina teases Leonis for being perverted and holding on to Celia. Maybe a good shock might help revive his memories, as Celia still believes he has amnesia. The almighty Demon Lord being ridiculed by a mere girl. At last they arrive at humanity's last stronghold, the castle that houses countless holy swordsmen, the 7th Assault Garden. As they ride on the super-fast motorbikes back to the city, it reminds Celia of her childhood from 6 years ago. Celia used to live in the 3rd Assault Garden, however. One day they were attacked by the voids. Everything was destroyed, and all the capable humans stood up in unity to fight against these voids, while the rest awaited the results of this battle inside a bunker. Baby Celia and Regina quietly snuggle against each other in the bunker. However, suddenly they are under attack, and Regina is afraid of what's going on around them, but Celia does her best to comfort her. That doesn't work because Regina says that the voids have destroyed every city they have ever attacked. Celia still tries to make her feel better, saying that her parents are holy knights, so they'll protect everyone. She repeats her parents' and sister's words to Regina. The bunker is practically shaking at this point, and talks about how they're going to enjoy after defeating the voids. Regina is finally able to breathe, and the two girls laugh together, promising each other they'll join Excalibur Academy and also become holy knights, so one day they'll be able to defend themselves and their loved ones. Sadly, the situation outside isn't as happy as they are. The bunker starts to tremble from the effect of the explosions around them, and Celia gets worried. She can't stand it any longer and starts to move outside to join her family in the fight, but Regina stops her. The poor girls start crying, worried sick for their families. A few hours later, the bunker door finally opens, and they see their entire city has been destroyed. Celia apologizes to Regina for telling her everything will be okay. In the present day, Regina is surprised when she learns that it's MC's first time seeing an assault garden, and he thinks it's amazing. She continues to explain that the city is temporarily docked here, but it's usually on the move since it's used on the front lines to attack void colonies. An entire moving city that can produce power, food, and travel across the ocean is enough to shock MC. He decides to gain intel about human resources before preparing for the rise of his dark army. Once they are inside the city, Celia tells him those who can use the power of a holy sword must enroll at Excalibur Academy. There's no compulsion to fight the void directly, but during a war, they have to act as support. MC decides to learn more about holy swords, and the girls lead him on his own. Once he's on his own, he enters the bathroom and is mad because his spell backfired and he has been reborn in his puny human body instead of his demon lord form. Nevertheless, he calls out to Blackus, the prince of the land of shadows and his most trusted friend. He also happens to be a wolf, and Sherry, his personal maid who emerges from his shadow. MC pets Blackus, who's surprised to see him in this form, but is happy they're reunited. Sherry thinks he's super cute. He assigns them to scour the city, explaining to them that this is a very different future where people don't use magic anymore. They have other strange powers like technology instead. MC shares his goal of reviving his Dark Lord army, but first, they need more information. That's why he's summoned them. They return to the shadow to begin their investigation. MC's inspection process starts as he walks through some machines that analyze his data from head to toe. However, one detector that he passes through starts ringing an alarm, but he turns it off with his spell. Once it's over, he's provided a temporary ID card, and Celia quickly snatches it from him to click a picture of it. He's confused why anyone would need a card to prove their identity. She takes him to the academy on her bike while offering a mini tour of the big city. He points out that everything seems quite peaceful, and Celia says it's because this city has never been attacked because it's the newest city. Yet they're still building a new one. She also explains that holy swordsmen are deployed to the front lines to fight, and that the city is divided into 3 sectors: the residential, commercial, and administrative areas. Excalibur Academy, which controls the military, is in the city center. Once they arrive, Celia suggests he should freshen up before they begin the registration process. MC is still amazed by the beautiful city and tall buildings all around him, asking if they're part of the academy. Celia then starts to describe that the buildings are part of the academy. The dining halls, training grounds, and dance rooms are the most important and relevant. MC doesn't understand why they need a dance hall. Celia says it's needed to manifest his holy sword because his heart and spirit need to be calm. While they're at the girls' dorm, they encounter Muzel, who Celia is clearly trying to avoid, but he just can't take a hint. He asks her who MC is, but she says it's none of his business, so he mocks her, saying Celia's platoon is now open to kids because they're such big failures. Celia defends MC and his abilities, while MC lets him enjoy his ignorance of his power for as long as he can. He may look harmless, but he can easily defeat Muzel and all the pricks he's surrounded by. As much as Muzel has bullied her, he tries to convince Celia to stop trying to be a holy sword user and join his platoon since they're the top rankers. This way she'll be allowed to stay at the academy. He continues to bully her, saying she's a loser who can't summon a holy sword despite having the blood of holy swordsmen. Poor Celia has no choice but to bow her head in acceptance of the reality of her situation. MC now understands why she took the hit back for him in the ruins was because she can't manifest a holy sword. Muzel just wants to make her one of his toys like the other girls on the platoon. MC thinks he might be using mind control on the other girls, who would voluntarily stay with a pathetic character like him, but realizes this might be the power of his holy sword. Obviously, Celia declines and tries to go on ahead, but Muzel, being the terrible man he is, yanks her hair. Isn't he too kinky? MC tells him to stop, but when he doesn't, he unleashes a powerful spell which makes Muzel's body tremble with fear. He is forced to the ground on his knees because of the pain. He has no idea what's going on. MC whispers in his ear that Celia belongs to him, so he's to stay away from her. He stops the spell, which gives Muzel the chance to manifest his holy sword, but another student arrives just then. She states that using the holy sword's power without authorization is against academy rules. It's even worse since he's in the girls' dorm. Fortunately, he has the sense to walk away. MC considers himself the most forgiving one among the Dark Lords, and Celia is his minion. Celia is quite pleased and thanks the girl Elfine for helping them. Elfine asks if MC is the boy she saved in the ruins, and she introduces herself to him as Celia's platoon operator. This makes MC realize they've been in contact since the beginning. MC introduces himself to Elfine, and she warmly welcomes him to the academy. She hands him his uniform, and Celia informs Elfine he's going to shower before they do that. She wonders if Elfine is headed to the dorm, but she needs to submit the Void investigation data to the Knights, and that there might be something under the oceans. This intrigues MC, but he lets it go for the time being. Elfine's explanation is interrupted when Celia starts to get dizzy, and the two head back to their team dorm. She tells him the dorms are assigned based on the platoon's grades. Each platoon has 5 to 6 members, and the academy treats them on a merit system based on tournaments, practice matches, and examinations to rank them accordingly. Her dorm has air conditioning, new training equipment, jet baths, and a sauna. Sounds really luxurious, and MC thinks a jet bath is a weapon. He's weary about being inside a girl's dorm, but she says no one would care because he's too little. She gets comfortable and takes off her socks. MC is concerned she has no shame, and she tells him to take a bath. While he's contemplating how the world has changed, Celia walks in naked. Now he's convinced she's perverted and starts to wash his hair. She confesses that her parents were unalived by the Void 6 years ago, and she was the only one who survived along with Regina. She continues by telling him her parents were both holy swordsmen, so she was accepted into the academy because of that, but she still can't summon her holy sword. She was in the ruins because she hoped being in a dangerous situation might help awaken her powers. MC calls her reckless, but she has no choice but to take such risks or she'll be expelled. Suddenly, she feels weaker and falls down. MC sees she's reached her limit and touches the mark of the spell on her body that brought her back to life. Her canines grow bigger and she bites into his neck. Once she's finished, he confesses that she's died, so he had used his magic to turn her into his strongest minion, the Vampire Queen. Later on, she wakes up and is confused about what Leonis had told her about her new identity as a Vampire Queen, his minion. However, he explains that he shared some of his mana with her because she collapsed, but she's still suspicious and asks Leonis about his true identity. He can't be straight up and say he's the demon lord of the underworld, so he settles for telling her he's an ancient sorcerer who reincarnated inside the crystal. Moreover, death is his domain, so he couldn't really heal or revive her. This was really the only way he could save her life, using a level 10 spell called Create Elder Undead. Sounds pretty basic to me to resurrect her. All his doubts about the workings of the spell were removed when she returned as the strongest of his minions, the Vampire Queen. Of course, this worries her, and Leonis gently reveals that she was running low on mana, so all she had to do was suck some of his blood to appease her vampiric urges. This is enough to convince her, and he apologizes for not being able to save her properly. Celia asks if she can confide in him, and when he agrees, she proceeds to share the story about her past from 6 years ago when the Voids attacked her city and killed her parents. Both her parents were holy sword users and tried their best to protect the city but failed. Thus, she feels bad that she was hiding in the shelter with Regina while everyone else was fighting, and since then has been working hard to train, though she still can't use the holy sword. She obviously doesn't want her years of training to go to waste and asks if it's still possible for her to wield the holy sword, but he's not so sure. It doesn't make the situation any better when he tells her she's super strong as the Vampire Queen. Their conversation is interrupted by the growls from Celia's stomach. Leonis has already spent more time in a girl's room than while eating, and they head to the cafeteria. While Celia can still eat normal food because she's a high-ranking vampire, it will take time to restore her strength. She asks what he wants to eat, and he just says bread because he doesn't know most of the dishes, but she says everyone needs a balanced diet, not the undead, though she still needs to get used to that. Thus, he simply follows her suggestion as he produces a single gold coin to pay for the food. He pretends he's the richest demon lord who can purchase the whole cafeteria. This broke kid needs a big fat reality check. All his bragging is reduced to nothing when Celia says real gold or cash is worthless in this world since everything is bought with credits. Behind them are two guys talking to a girl as they tease her for not wearing the correct school uniform. Unfortunately for them, they try to take advantage of her but end up being hit by a wooden stick, which she produces from her robes. She's quick to put them in their place as she states she has special permission to dress as she pleases, and they escape. Celia walks up to the girl, Sakuya asking what happened, and she reveals she's supposed to be on a tactical drill, but she snuck out because it was boring and decided to gamble until she got caught by those two men. Her attention is diverted to Leonis, as she mentions that Elfine already told her about him. She introduces herself to him, and Leonis finds it remarkable that she's someone who dedicated her whole life to the sword. Celia also tells him that Sakuya is her platoon's vanguard attacker. They all have lunch together and Leonis gets curious, so he asks about her kimono. She says it's the traditional clothing of her homeland and a memento of her sister because she's the sole survivor from her village that was destroyed by the Voids. So she plans to train hard and become strong to take revenge. He kind of feels he may have overstepped. After lunch, Celia and Leonis head to the training grounds to register his holy sword, where he meets Alto, the instructor in charge of his examination. She's there to examine what kind of holy sword user he is, and he summons his staff. The poor boy has begun to question his own abilities. However, there's nothing to worry about as she concludes he's merely a support who can do all kinds of stuff just based on the situation. He notices some giant robots around him, and Celia explains they're void simulators that help them recreate attack patterns, and Alto suggests Leonis should take one on since it's set to the lowest level. He's super confident in himself that a level 2 gravity spell should be enough, but that ends up completely crushing the robots. Alto is shocked and doubts whether he's just a support as everyone around stares in awe. Alto is intrigued and starts to reprogram some more robots as she sets them to a higher level for Leonis to fight. Not surprisingly, they're disturbed once again by the vexing Muzel, who wants to handle the examination. Leonis doesn't mind. He really believes Muzel is on the same level as the robots. But this insult infuriates him so much that he summons his holy sword, which literally looks like a magic wand, and his personal harem. Celia interrupts, saying a 1v5 isn't fair, Leonis will defeat them in no time, and joins Leonis. This gives Muzel a chance to say he'll allow her to help him on the condition that if she loses she'll join his platoon. She walks right into his trap, as she agrees, but Leonis knows better as he's certain that Muzel just wants to make her his toy. Thus, he makes him agree he'll never bother Celia ever again if they win. Muzel, being the dumb chunk of meat he is, agrees, and Celia blushes when Leonis says he won't let anyone touch his girl. Alto hands Celia a training sword to act as a replacement for a holy sword. The fight begins, and Celia charges in as she immediately knocks one of the girls down and heads straight for Muzel, but another one of his minions blocks the attack. Leonis observes how much Celia's raw attributes have improved ever since she became a vampire. Another one of the girls smashes her club on the ground and Celia dodges the pebbles at lightning-fast speed. Meanwhile, Leonis uses a low-level shadow spell to parry one of his pet's lightning attacks and uses the shadow to hold her captive. Celia takes down the rest of the girls, and when she's finally headed for Muzel, he simply uses his wand to stop her from moving. She's confused, and he explains this is the true power of his holy sword as he continues to list the dirty things he's going to do to her later. But first, he has to deal with Leonis, who's surrounded by his minions. Leonis considers using a level 2 spell to wipe them out when suddenly he hears Celia whispering to herself about how badly she wants to protect him and begs her holy sword to appear. Suddenly, there is a bright white light between her hands which transforms into her holy sword, while everyone including Regina watches in surprise. With her new weapon, she manages to free herself from her bounds, and the loser Muzel can't believe what's happening. She takes no time at all to take the opportunity to rush at him and slices his sword in half, which allows the poor girls to break free from his hypnotic control spell. That's a whole new level of creepy. Everyone watching cheers for Celia, and Regina envelops her in a tight hug as she's super proud. Even Celia herself can't believe she managed to awaken her holy sword. Later, she thanks Leonis, but he knows she was just doing her duty, which is to protect her master, him. She asks for a favor to make her stronger and invites him to join her platoon, to which he happily agrees. Thus, everyone enjoys a welcome party where Regina cooks a huge feast to celebrate his joining and Celia's achievement. But Celia seems to avoid the discussion about naming her holy sword. The conversation quickly shifts to Leonis' examination, and Elfine calls him to her room so she can analyze his skills. The chatter then leads to the fact that he'll have to share a room with someone since no rooms are currently empty, and Regina jumps at the opportunity. She's already suspected of being perverted and offers to make him sweets every day. However, Sakuya and Elfine aren't far behind with their offers, confusing the poor kid with so many options when Celia jumps in to rescue him. She claims to be his guardian, so announces that he'll be staying with her. This does make the other girls suspicious, but Leonis also agrees he'd like to stay with her. They do have a lot of secrets to keep, like the fact that she needs his blood to survive. However, he does go to Elfine's room as promised for the examination, where she uses her holy sword to scan his data and is quite impressed. He's confused when she says she can't use it for now, as she reveals she lost her holy sword powers, thus now they are very limited. She used to be part of the strongest 7th platoon as the main attacker until 6 months ago. While examining some ruins, they were attacked by voids. By the time they realized it was a trap, it was already too late as her group fell apart. She was the only survivor, that too with limited powers. After this incident, she became a shut-in, but Cilia constantly visited her so she joined her platoon. He notices a map on her desktop and she lets him have a tablet with the map on it. While looking at it, Leonis observes the void distribution area over the last few months and summons Blackus, who reports back saying the voids have similar characteristics to the monsters that the Dark Lords used against mankind. Leonis sends him to investigate the areas on the map when Sherry, too, appears to report to him about mankind's best invention, donuts. Well, that's true. As she pulls out more food from her bag, he realizes she's been eating all this time, but informs them that people have no idea about any demon lord or the Great War, so he asks her to continue her investigation. Poor Sherry is jealous of his new minion, Cilia, and disappears. Meanwhile, there are some divers exploring an underwater ruin where they discover a huge tree with a face calling out Leona's name and attack them. He embarked on a mission aimed at vanquishing a malevolent monster, his path guided by a local villager. The villagers' delight was evident, as they were to be assisted by none other than Leonis himself, renowned as the supreme swordsman and the hero of the Holy Sword. While the villager lauded Leonis' skills, he modestly brushed off the praise, emphasizing his primary duty, which was to confront the formidable demon lord. Upon reaching the designated location of the monster, a perplexed Leonis was met with a space. Turning around to inquire about the creature's whereabouts, he found that the villager had mysteriously vanished. It dawned on Leonis that he had walked into a well-laid trap, and his immediate instinct was to reach for his weapon. Bro should have realized that the real monsters are humans themselves. Unfortunately, he was restrained by an insidious gravity spell. His surroundings revealed 3 mages and a group of soldiers who swiftly immobilized him with chains, suspending him in midair. It appears that the nobility of the kingdom viewed Leonis with suspicion, perceiving his power and influence as a threat, and thus they conspired to eliminate him. The soldiers advanced with spears in hand, thrusting them into Leonis' chest. Despite his valiant efforts to resist, he eventually succumbed, drained of his strength. With the task accomplished, the soldiers left him behind. Minutes later, a mysterious girl appears before him. Aware of his lingering consciousness, she inquired about his emotional state following the betrayal by those he had once saved. While Leonis grappled with negative emotions, he found himself incapable of harboring resentment toward humanity. The girl questions his perspective on the world, and as what happened to Leonis, the boy eagerly tells her how he wishes to take this revenge. Although the boy even mentions that he doesn't wish to resent the whole of humanity for betraying him. To his bewilderment, she revealed herself as Rosilia, the goddess of rebellion, expressing a desire to foment rebellion against the world. Leonis, perplexed, listened as she offered to resurrect him, although not as a hero, but as the new Dark Lord destined to rescue the world. Anyways, Leonis then wakes up from his dream, but the promise to find Rosilia in the present timeline lingers in Leonis' thoughts. Upon waking, Leonis sensed something was wrong with his neck, so he immediately enters Cilia's room and issues a commanding order for her to wake up. As his devoted minion, she promptly complied, though she seemed quite confused about the situation. So the boy exhibits the master contract mark, and he clarified his authority to issue binding orders, to which she could not object. This revelation flustered Cilia, prompting her to ask if he could even order her to do some naughty stuff. However, Leonis reassures her that such commands won't be part of his actions, ultimately putting her at ease. Shifting the topic, Leonis asks Cilia if she somehow sucked his blood while he was sleeping, or even if she had a few drops of it. Blushing, she admitted to a small indulgence, which Leonis accepted nonchalantly, considering her as his loyal minion. However, Leonis simply wants her to ask the next time. Hopefully blood is the only thing she sucked last night. Their conversation was interrupted by Cilia's ringing phone, a call from Elfine reporting an unusual development: the 13th Platoon's unexplained absence during an investigation of the seabed. Although renowned for their competence, there was no news. Cilia sought to investigate further, promising to provide an update later. She then mentioned Leonis' promise about training her, which he agreed to fulfill. Meanwhile, a meeting was underway at Excalibur's Academy, where staff members expressed deep concern regarding the missing platoon. They unearthed evidence of a void colony lurking seed beneath the assault city, raising concerns about a potential mass attack by the Voids. The absence of prior warning signs left them bewildered, as their technology lacked the capability to detect a Void Lord in advance. The staff discussed the number of Voids possibly residing within the colony. The staff grew increasingly concerned. Their worries escalated as they contemplated the presence of several hundred or possibly more Void entities. The impending attack raised a significant alarm, with a heightened possibility of Void Lord's appearance. A rapid response was imperative. Plans for bolstering the Academy's defenses were set into motion. Evacuating civilians and identifying the potential Void Lord became top priorities. The staff gave clear orders to all platoons to focus on ensuring the safety of the populace. Meanwhile, Cilia dedicated her time to honing her combat skills. Facing off against a pair of robotic opponents, she found the challenge rather manageable, particularly since they engaged her one at a time. MC was quick to praise her abilities and, observing her progress, inquired about her swordsmanship mentor. Cilia disclosed that her family had provided her with the fundamental training during her early years, and she had since diligently practiced. Despite her consistent efforts, her advancement had been relatively slow. MC pointed out that she should be considerably stronger as a vampire queen, a revelation Cilia struggled to fully grasp. He explained that she had yet to harness her immense mana reserves effectively. MC assured her that mastering this power would significantly enhance her strength. Eager for guidance, Cilia watched as MC summoned his staff, preparing to present her with a more formidable challenge. He erected a protective barrier and, utilizing a summoning spell, conjured a group of skeletal soldiers from the shadows. Perplexed but ready for the task, Cilia listened as MC clarified that these were his lowest-ranking minions and encouraged her to defeat them as she saw fit. She accepted the challenge and initiated the confrontation by systematically eliminating the skeletal soldiers one by one. As the intensity of the battle grew, Cilia skillfully evaded attacks from multiple assailants. Observing her fatigue, MC concluded the exercise and dissipated the summoned skeletal warriors. Those skeletons were no different than mannequins, yet Cilia seemed to struggle. He offered to replenish her mana, but Cilia declined, affirming her well-being. MC once more commended her growing proficiency. Intending to head back to the dormitory, MC initially declined Cilia's invitation for a meal. However, his protesting stomach betrayed him with an audible growl. Cilia could not contain her laughter, while MC found himself frustrated with his body's untimely demands. Meanwhile, Sakuya ventured out of the dormitory and noticed Blackus, an enigmatic figure she found striking. She decided to temporarily christen him as Fluffymaru the Black, though Blackus seemed less than pleased with the name. Undeterred, Sakuya thought her feline friend appreciated the title and fashioned a makeshift collar with a note suggesting there was food inside before walking away, promising another encounter. Elsewhere, Elfinit diligently gathered more information while Regina and Sakuya joined her. Sakuya excitedly shared her encounter with Blackus. The focus then shifted to an ongoing investigation. A new, seemingly more accomplished group had been dispatched to locate the elusive Void Lord. However, they had not returned yet, creating a sense of unease. Returning to Cilia and MC, the two embarked on a journey through the city on Cilia's motorcycle, heading for a meal. Simultaneously, Sherry enthusiastically pursued information through part-time jobs in food establishments and cooking lessons. At one such culinary venture, the instructor introduced a bowl of potatoes, explaining the lesson would involve making fries. He emphasized the importance of slicing the potatoes into pieces. The group learned that their endeavor would be a unique challenge. However, Sherry did not exercise patience. She promptly retrieved her knife and began slicing everything in sight, including the potatoes and the bowl itself. The instructor was utterly shocked, demanding an explanation for her actions. Unfazed, Sherry claimed that she had simply followed his instructions. In response to the culinary chaos, the shop owner instructed her to clean up the mess outside. As Sherry embarked on her cleaning duties, she discreetly observed Cilia and MC as they stopped by the shop. Cilia made some purchases before they departed on her motorcycle. Intrigued by their destination, Sherry trailed behind them, eventually arriving at an establishment that appeared to be an orphanage. This restaurant orphanage was a sanctuary for refugee children who had nowhere else to turn. MC, who had experienced a childhood as a homeless orphan before his heroic journey, felt a connection with these young souls. Upon entering the premises, Cilia apologized for her delayed visit, citing her exams as the cause. A mischievous child attempted to play a trick on her, but MC's protective instincts kicked in. He momentarily used his magic to ward off the child, only to cease when Celia assured him that it was harmless. The owner of the establishment, Phrynia, descended to greet them. She introduced Leo, sharing his background as a boy she had rescued from the ruins. The revelation of his identity as a holy swordsman captivated the children, who were in awe of his supposed heroism. Celia informed the kids that she had brought vegetables and donuts for them, eliciting sheer delight among the young residents. Phrynia announced her intentions to prepare lunch for the children. Concurrently, the second group conducting investigations beneath the city detected anomalies. Meanwhile, Sakuya awoke from her nap with an unsettling sensation. She soon discovered the presence of vines growing inside the control room of the assault city. Back in the days when MC was still a hero, a city of the kingdom was getting invaded by a group of ogres, which put everyone in fear. So the heroes Tiris, Arakael, and MC have the duty to eliminate them. As the battle begins, Arakael starts casting a powerful spell. However, his plan sounds a bit twisted. He wanted to eradicate not only the monsters but also the citizens. Then Tiris would use her power to revive the citizens. I mean, those people would have known pain. Yet Leonis had another idea, which is probably the reason he was later betrayed. He didn't want to see the citizens suffer, so he used his sword to cut Arakael's spell in half. Though Arakael was confused, but Leonis, who was still 12 years old at the time, couldn't see people being eradicated and being brought back to life. Leonis then jumps down and starts to hunt the ogres one by one. The citizens watched in awe as he was slicing the ogres and even had a fistfight with one. And because of that, every citizen started to see Leonis as the true hero and loved him. Bro took the whole credit. However, the other two didn't like Leonis, especially Arakael. Well, back to the present, we see Arakael's monster form managing to infiltrate the underground in the assault city. Meanwhile, in the HQ of the assault city, a report captures everyone's attention because out of the blue, a huge tree just disappeared. So they come to the conclusion that it must be a void and get determined to deal with it when they find it. They then contact Elphine and allow her to explain the result of her analysis. So she explains that she detected something fishy in the underground of District 62. Furthermore, she reveals that at the same time, there was a magic energy reaction. And the same just occurs minutes later after analyzing all the data. She concludes it must have been caused due to a void. So everyone starts to panic, unable to believe that a void managed to literally infiltrate the underground facilities. Meanwhile, the data team analyzes the new info with their previous one and explains that it is true, Void is indeed behind all of this. So the old man gets confused and asks why their void detection machine didn't give them any signal. There, the analyst explains that the void usually produces weak magic waves, therefore their so-called advanced machine failed to react as it was considered a common accident. Though the general seems to be in tension because he still can't believe how a void could infiltrate the whole assault city. So the girl explains that there are certain parts of the city structure that could have allowed it. Suddenly, then, an alarm rings and the analyst explains something was detected moving in District 31. And once again, the old man is left confused, asking why that thing isn't releasing magic. Elphine quickly calculates and reveals that the void is limiting its power to avoid being detected. Though the old man literally rejects that possibility because voids aren't smart. Then why isn't he finding the problem instead of being stubborn with the experts? Then Elphine bluntly asks him if they found any hints about what happened to the last investigation team. And that's where another alarm rings. This time, it's a report from the stock department. Apparently, the report states they have found some tree roots in that section. Meanwhile, in Elphine's room, we see Regina being worried because she cannot contact Celia. Elphine asks her if she has any idea where Celia might be. So Regina replies that she must be in the orphanage with Leonis. Hence, Elphine starts to track them through GPS. There, Regina asks her if voids did really infiltrate the city. So Elphine simply replies with a yes and tells Regina and Sakuya to stay alert. Meanwhile, at the orphanage, the kids are all enjoying their lunch when one of them asks Leonis to show him his holy sword. Little do they know that they have become one of those Make-A-Wish kids. It appears that Leonis is annoyed because a stupid kid literally just spit on his face. There, a kid girl named Chisella calms the kid down and gives Leonis her handkerchief. At this point, hitting a child should be legal. Besides, Leonis does look like a kid after all. Leonis observes her as a kind and well-educated child, but the girl appears to be clearly crushing on him. She shyly calls him cool for being able to use a holy sword and quickly rushes back to her tomato land. Anyways, back at the headquarters where they appear to have managed to find some hints about what's really happening. Not only did they manage to find some footsteps, but they also found a corridor full of tree roots. We then see the men there waiting for the order to destroy those roots. Suddenly, those roots start to inflate and some sort of eyes start to pop out of them. And the very next moment, all of those men get attacked by the roots, and they lose communication. At this point, the general finally believes that it is indeed a void. However, the thought of how that thing managed to get into the underground bothers him. So the old man then questions his people about why their aerial defenses are so strong, yet the underground ones are trash. Out of the blue, Harry Fatter decides to panic and calls for a general evacuation. But the city commander doesn't seem to be available to give that command. Moreover, things start to get worse as the analyst reveals that the roots somehow managed to cut the communication system within the city. So Harry Fatter tries to use his iPad to hack the system and reestablishes some communication. It appears that the two guys had managed to survive the last attack, however, they had no option but to let the void escape. Not only that, those people don't seem to be in a condition to even track the void at the moment. The general then freaks out because normally the void attacks non-stop, but this one ran away. So the analysts quickly come to the conclusion that the void paved its way through the energy corridor, although they don't know why it did that. So Elfina quickly realizes its goal must be the magic energy core that sustains the city. She quickly explains if it's the Void Lord, then it will use the magic energy core to create a huge stampede. At this point, a huge panic is created and the seniors ordered to protect the magic core at all costs and activate all defensive systems. But seconds later, the tree roots legit breach the walls and try to reach the core. The defensive system starts shooting the roots down while the troops arrive. However, the defense system is taking some casualties, so they immediately came up with the idea to change their priority to not only defend the core, but they also ordered the citizens to evacuate while everyone else prepares to face a stampede. Meanwhile, at the orphanage, we see an ugly and disgusting kid who is still insisting on seeing Leona's holy sword. Bro should show his holy sword to the kid, even though Phrynia tells the kids to stop because a holy sword isn't a toy. However, Cilia walks in between and asks him to show it. Since she's his familiar, he accepts to entertain the kids, but in his own way. So Leonis ends up summoning mini skeletons and starts playing with them as if they were marionettes. However, the kids find it quite disgusting. Those roots should have invaded this place first. Whereas the soldiers are still trying to deal with the roots, however, those roots finally stop, but they seem to have reached the magic core, as it quickly forces its way in and starts summoning voids. The city alarm instantly starts to ring, making Cilia and Leonis rush outside. And now they realize a stampede is striking their city. On the other hand, the city's defense system also activates by using the reserve energy. Furthermore, it appears that it will take at least 3 days for them to get any external help. Therefore, they are on their own. Even the generals start to doubt themselves if they will make it out alive, though one of them assures them that the students are ready. Elfine, Sakuya, and Regina take the duty to help citizens to evacuate the place. However, the latter is still worried about Cilia. So Elfine assures that Cilia should arrive there soon, as she should follow the normal procedures. But deep inside, Elfine knows that their main focus for now is to deal with the voids in the area, and currently the sky seems to be filled with voids, but the defensive system's machine guns start to quickly deal with them. The girls then reach the rooftop, where each of them starts summoning their holy swords and joins the fight to kill the void. Meanwhile, Leonis appears to be watching this scenario from afar, thinking that the void humanoids are quite strong. There, Cilia starts to panic and returns inside, stating that they must evacuate the kids. Leonis tries to follow her, but he gets interrupted by Sherry, who asks for his orders. However, Leonis doesn't understand how she managed to get to him so quickly. And upon asking, at first she tries to lie, stating that she didn't follow them to get info about Cilia, whereas Leonis stops giving a damn about that and tells her to protect his familiars. Even though Sherry tries to refuse, saying she wants to protect him, the boy simply tells her to get the F out of here. Cilia then calls for Leonis, explaining the kids are ready to evacuate. However, Leonis notices something and tells her it's dangerous outside. Looks like a dragon void is in the area, and as Cilia heads outside to deal with it, she summons her holy sword, though Leonis knows that she hasn't reached her true potential as a vampire queen. When asked if she's afraid, she replies yes, but she cannot leave in fear and let the kids perish. It impresses Leonis as he smiles and decides to summon his staff, Turns out, Leonis does not want his strongest familiar to die. They then receive a Void's attack, but Celia quickly deals with them. She then notices two others burning in the air and realizes that it must be Leonis doing. She even tried to ask him if this was his power, but the boy simply ignored her and focused on the next targets. Unluckily, more and more voids start to appear around the city. On the other corner, Sakoyad notices some ogres and dashes in with her sword, making them fry till they crisp. Meanwhile, Regina uses her huge cannon to shoot dragons down, and Elfine is using her stuff to scout the area. But suddenly, they feel the ground shaking and they notice a huge void hydra. And with that, the city defense system cannot keep up with the several voids, and after a while, their weapons get destroyed. Leonis then looks at the voids and realizes that it's monsters from 1,000 years ago. Turns out, even the great dragons were corrupted and became voids. So he quickly realizes that if they're as strong as they were back in time, he cannot use low-level spells. He tells Celia to protect him while he casts a high-level spell. Therefore, she quickly rushes ahead to deal with several voids, enabling Leonis to start casting his spell. Oddly, at this intense moment, Leonis doesn't really seem sure about why he is doing this. He, the great demon lord, shouldn't care about the destruction of a human city. However, he cannot stay still when someone tries to challenge him and his family. There, a huge dragon appears in front of him, so Leonis casts his level 10 spell. Hence, several fireballs appear in the air and start crashing in the area. Whereas Celia is still scared because it's raining fireballs, but Leonis tells her to not worry and to stay still. He manages to pin the dragon down, but it attacks Celia with fire, and as she dodges it, Leonis starts to blame his current body for his low level of power. Suddenly, Blackus appears from the shadow and literally bites the dragon's neck. Leonis uses this chance and immediately casts another level 10 gravity spell. This time, he ends up smashing the dragon to the floor. Celia could not believe that she had just seen Leonis defeat such a huge void. But suddenly, that's when the floor starts shaking and collapses. The three roots then appear once again, and they restrain Celia. So now, as she is being pulled inside the hole, even though Leonis tries to help her, some roots block his path. The roots then start taking some shape and call for his name. Leonis smiles and recognizes the roots as Arakale, one of the former heroes. Back in the holy year 434, the battle was spewing and MC was taking over the battlefield with his great power and skills. After fighting for a while, MC comes back to the royal castle, and upon entering, he sees Roselia sitting waiting for him. She greets him back. MC, excited about meeting her, tells her how hard he fought back on the battlefield and even won fighting a dangerous foe. After defeating him, he confiscates a lot of treasure and he presents it all to Roselia as a gift. She thanks her for making such a gesture, but she wants him to hold on to it for the time being. MC explains that he has learned a lot of spells to help him on the battlefield, and all thanks to Blackus for making him do that. He has been a good friend in need, and in return, MC lets Blackus people take shelter under his shadow. Hearing this impressed Roselia, and for fighting so well back on the battlefield, she presents him with a present as well. She summons the demon sword and presents it to MC as a gift. This shocks him as it was completely unexpected. He never thought she would be going so far as to give him the demon sword. Upon asking about it, she explains that it is time that he turns over to the demon sword for assistance, as the holy sword is of no use anymore. He cannot fully immerse himself in the battle and get out his potential with that sword. But she wants him to know that he cannot draw the sword until the said condition is met. She put that pretty convincing, but even he knows that it is total BS. MC has no idea what to say right now. In the present, MC is in the village when he comes across Arakale. It is one of the enemies MC fought back 1,000 years ago, and this time, Arakale is in a completely different form than before. Arakale also wants to destroy MC this time and attacks him, but MC dodges it pretty easily. Upon landing a strike, Arakale runs down the huge opening in the earth to hide himself. MC runs to see, but he is already gone. He knows that this is one of Arakale's traps, but still, he is going to let himself in his trap. This time, MC promises that he will destroy him once and for all. Blackus shows up and wonders why Arakale showed up at this time of all the time. Even after a millennium, he showed up in an unrecognizable shape that resembled a huge monster. MC believes that Arakale is alive after all these years. It is proof that Roselia is also alive somewhere on the earth, but no one knows. They are chatting when Blackus turns to look at the humans staring at MC. They look scared, but this is usual for him. Blacks wonder why they are looking right here and for what reason they are out of their houses. He feels like they should be in their suck-up homes. It is better than nothing at least. NC knows what to do and tells Blackus to wait right here while he goes talk to them. He goes up to them and all of them look scared, but Lily comes forth to talk to NC. She wants him to know that they are grateful for him protecting them and that they hope that he saves their sister Celia. Them actually appreciating him took him by surprise, and he is happy to know that they are not disgusted by him. He promises to bring back Celia no matter what. He leaves making a defensive barrier around the house so they are protected at all costs. MC swings his sword and summons his followers from the dam to aid him in this battle. Blackus gets his attention and puts down a cloth in which he has 2 or 3 kebabs. MC thinks that he may have stolen them, but Blackus got them from a human when he let him pet him. Hungry, MC takes one and is at it when suddenly they hear a call for help from Elfine. She is asking for Celia, and she wants her to help them in fighting the giant monster they are fighting. Sakoya and Regina are fighting the giant monster and easily overpowering him. But the thing is, he is not giving up either, and they surely need an extra hand to help them. MC answers her call and tells them that Celia has been kidnapped by a void in this district. Elfine, confused, tells him to leave the place and let the platoon appointed at the district handle the situation. Boo MC informs her that there is no one here. She takes a look at the place, and it is a complete mess, but MC promises to explain everything after the situation has been dealt with. Meanwhile, Regina is handling the monster when she takes a look at Elfine. Elfine is about to be struck by a huge attack when someone jumps in with the whip and smashes the monster away. These kinds of entries are so old school, yet still, they hold up pretty good. We see it as Sherry, and she is helping these girls secretly. She was working as a maid, but she loved handling these monsters every time. MC tells Elfine to be careful while he looks for Celia. He wants her to locate her, and she does that. After locating her successfully, MC is set to find her and bring her back. With Blackus, MC enters the deep opening and goes through the power plant. Black's confused asks him why he sent Sherry to help them in the fight when he knows that they are going to be fighting one of the 6 heroes. He explains that Sherry is not the best of the maids, but she started out as an assassin to take him out, so he has full confidence in her. Blackus comes again with another question as to why he created the barrier around those humans. MC doesn't want to admit it, but has to admit that he has taken a liking to those humans. He wants to protect them for some reason. Blackus totally expected this from his friend. They reach the place and find Erico once again transformed into a much bigger monster. MC and Blackus are surprised to see Erical take this form and make himself as the power plant itself. Erical, all frustrated, wonders how the hell MC came back when he saw him perish a millennium ago. MC corrects him that he didn't perish, but he sealed away his soul and revived him back after 1,000 years. Nothing special as he says it. Erical starts talking about this new world when MC also chimes in saying that the new world is quite fun with all the good food and changing things. Erical isn't taking the insult lightly and manifests the assimilated priests. Seeing these little parts of Erical grow spreads fear through MC and Blackus. They weren't prepared for such a battle. Erical attacks MC, but he manages to dodge it and charge right at him. Running toward Erical, Erical attacks both of them on their way, while both of them once again manage to deflect the attacks. Meanwhile, we see Soleil tied up somewhere by Erical. She can hear MC call her name, but she cannot do anything to help him. He is set on finding her no matter what, while Celia thinks about how she always managed to be stuck in the place where someone has to come to save her. She wants to do it herself this time. She feels like, what is the point of awakening the Holy Sword when she cannot even get herself out of this spot? With this in mind, Celia tries hard to get out of this bound but starts bleeding from her legs and arms. She tries again and this time summons the Holy Sword. She has the sword in her hand but cannot move to swing the sword freely. On the other hand, MC is constantly blocking and dodging Erical's attack. It is getting harder and harder for both of them to go on as their energies are getting more potent by the minute. Plus, with his assimilated priest, Erical can cast more than one spell at the same time, which is a huge disadvantage for them. They are keeping themselves safe while Celia tries to get out. The blood is pretty helpful, and wielding the Holy Sword, blood cuts through the arms, making Celia free. MC sees Celia and gives her the infused blood, which gets her true powers out. She strikes out of the heart of Erical, which shocks him. MC and Celia are together after a while, and MC compliments his minion for being able to control her new vampire powers. Now that Celia is out of Arakale, and there is nothing to lose now, MC decides to use the last resort. He plans on drawing the demon sword as the condition for the drawing is met here. Blackus wants MC to know the ramifications of such a thing, but MC has thought this through already. He knows what he is getting himself in, and with this in mind, he draws the demon sword. It freaks out Arakale, as he had no idea that MC had such a thing in his arsenal. He cannot believe that he has the demon sword. Arakale plans on destroying the whole planet now, but it is going to be useless as the demon sword has been drawn. Now the time is here, and MC uses his sword. The condition was that the sword should be drawn to save the city, and with only a single strike, MC cuts through Arakale, obliterating him to vapors. Every void starts leaving, and slowly, every single monster is gone. On the other hand, Regina and everyone else are also surprised to see the monsters run away like cowards. In the Assault Garden HQ, everyone is shocked seeing the stampede and feels like fortune has smiled on them right now. It sure did in the image of MC. All happy, MC and Celia come back to the city and reunite with their friends. All the platoons are safe and sound together, which is a happy moment for everyone. The next day, MC feels crap because of the sore muscles. His body isn't made to withstand this much power, so he is not even able to get out of bed. Celia comes in with a sandwich for MC. MC cannot even move right now, but barely gets himself to sit straight on the bed. Celia has something to ask. She wants MC to know that using the holy sword requires a lot of blood, so she wants some from him. He agrees and lets her suck his finger to get some when all the other girls walk in. That isn't weird at all. We see Alteria heading to the Assault Garden to pay her gratitude to the person who saved the city. The after effect of that incident affected the city in a bad way. Though of course, the restoration efforts are already underway. Even the power plant, which is the source of humans' mana supply, also got badly damaged. So till those plants are repaired, they plan to implement devices that convert the sun's rays into mana. It actually impresses MC on how the engineer keeps getting alternative solutions to every problem. Even though the Kif officially claimed this land as his kingdom, there are still so many things that he doesn't understand. However, as MC tries to enter the vault, the security denies his identity, and a mythic spirit reveals that vault access must be authorized by the Administration Bureau. Well, MC then informs him that he is actually a student of this academy, but that doesn't convince that owl spirit. It suggests MC put in a request with the Bureau along with a review of his credit information, criminal record, personal history, and academic performance. Bro just got played by the government, and to save him from drag, Regina makes her entry as she covers MC's eye from behind and hugs him. Basically, she tells MC to relax for a bit and enjoy the sensation of her soft and wobbly two big jellies against his back. After MC escapes her grip, Regina reveals that she is actually here to return some video software. But she is surprised to see MC here, as she suspects him to be looking for some, corn videos. So to clarify himself, MC explains that he is here to do some research on the ancient language that was written all over the ruins where he was trapped in. Hence, Regina manipulates the spirit to gain access to them and asks MC to keep that trick a secret. It appears that these are artificial spirits made by the Philip Foundation, because apparently the real spirits were mostly gone by the time the Void invasion started. As they enter the library, both MC and Regina receive an invitation through the mail for the commendation ceremony. Moreover, it will be hosted by the 4th Imperial Princess, Alteria Ray Oatrice. MC finds this as a good opportunity to ask questions regarding the upper echelon of mankind's empire. Anyways, their MC receives a call from Rasilia asking MC for lunch, but the guy declines her offer as he has some errands to run and tells her that he'll meet her later at the harbor. And upon being asked, Regina declines to meet at the harbor as she walks away and says good luck to MC on his research. Damn, she just felt so left out. It then cuts to a Black Lion, Bestia Colossal, planning to kidnap the 4th Imperial Princess today at the ceremony. So his elf friend, Jack, mentions that after kidnapping the princess, they'll demand to free their brethren who are imprisoned in the Imperial capital. Furthermore, the third guy, who is a werewolf, Jur Hanzak, is already pissed at the humans for treating the demi-humans like trash. Lastly, leopard named Giraffe and a goblin. Elza tells Bastia that the humans possess holy swords, so it would be impossible for them to fight them. While this Alpha Wolves gang is discussing, a mysterious girl walks in and starts to mock them, though she actually intends to assist them with their mission as she reveals that she has a power that surpasses the holy sword. And out of the blue, that girl summons a sword and starts transferring some sort of power to Bastille that literally slices the whole tree with a single swing. Apparently, that mysterious girl just handed Bastille a demon sword that's granted by the goddess, so with a power like that, everyone starts to believe that their abducting plan now makes sense. There has to be a catch to that, though she suggests then to hijack the Hyperion along with the princess. Besides, if they steal the ship, then they can sail directly into the capital and get their pals back. And now it's time for the catch. The girl wishes a sacrifice for the goddess in return, so she wants them to bring back some holy swordsmen for her goddess. So upon agreement, that girl introduces herself as Sharnak, the witch of Everdark Forest. Meanwhile, MC is wandering around and thinking about what he will do after restoring his demonic army. There, MC buys a bracelet for his minion, but it leaves him shocked when the shopkeeper reveals that this bracelet is actually made by an elf who lives in this city. He even reveals that here, along with elves, demi-humans, werewolves, and lions also reside. Anyways, the Imperial Princess then makes her entry and starts waving at everyone. While Regina is keeping an eye on the Princess, MC, and the girls unite at the harbor. And to cheer Rosilia up, MC hands her the keychain he bought for her. Didn't he buy a bracelet? But one way or another, Rosilia gets flattened by his gesture and hints to him that he is on his way to lay a girl and become the demon lord in the bedroom. For a second, MC thought his identity just got revealed, but it appeared to be some sort of adult joke. Never mind. The group then starts to walk towards the ship to board, so MC asks them why Regina isn't joining them, even though she strikes him as a party girl. And to be honest, the girls also don't have a proper answer for that, but there, the replacement of Regina walks in. Yes, I'm talking about Fenris. Apparently, she is here on behalf of the President of the Executive Council, though Elfine calms her down as she keeps mocking Rosilia for having a clumsy group. As she walks away, Rosilia tells MC that she is Fenris Edelritz, a girl who has been stuck with Rosilia since she was a kid. Anyways, the abducting mission also begins as Bastille and Hanzak kill 2 guards and literally cut their face skin off. Moreover, as they wear the guards' facial skin, they turn into the people they just killed. That actually looks so creepy. The ceremony began as the ship sailed away while MC and the group were having a great time, though MC separates from the group as he sits next to the pool and takes a look at his research. Turns out, somebody attempted to cover up the historical past. There isn't a single mention of the gods, the 6 heroes, the goddess of rebellion, or the 8 demon lords. Plus, he can't find any details on why sorcery died out while magical technology evolved. There, Sherry bumps into MC disguised as a waitstaff. She then reveals that this ship is powered by a mana crystal, and the defenses are somewhat similar to the assault garden. It even has artillery and autocannons along with flying weapons. And before she would leave for further intel, MC stops her and tells her that he has a gift for her, since she is his only loyal maid. So the guy summons a churro, which actually disappoints Sherry because she doesn't find perishable objects as presents. Okay, so who is going to have that bracelet? My guess is Regina, though Sherry immediately teleports away as Rosilia walks in, and dang, MC is about to nosebleed as he sees Rosilia in her swimming suit along with Tessera. But the demon lord legit fights his inner demons and declines the polite request of joining the girls because he didn't bring a swimsuit. But say no more, because Rosilia apparently planned that out as she brought a boxer for MC. And the very next moment, Rosilia teaches MC how to swim, but that doesn't seem to work because our boy can't get his eyes off on those floating footballs. While these people are living, Regina on the other hand starts to feel lonely after isolating herself. On the other hand, Bastille and Giraffe kill Eritrea's bodyguards as they are taking her to the conference room. While the princess is surrounded, her pet manages to run away, and just like that, a great panic gets created as the demi-humans reveal themselves in front of everyone. While Hanzak summons his sword and activates the face thief magic, Fenris acts oversmart as she believes that only humans can wield the holy swords. She even summons her pet to engage in a fight, but Elsa shoots at the ground and warns her to not take a single step or she'll kill the hostages. And for the safe side, Jack places a bomb that will explode if anyone tries to do anything funny. Team Alpha Wolves ties everyone up and takes their cell phones like it's shown in the movies. They even separate MC and his group plus Fenris from the crowd. Elsa then informs everyone that they intend to take the beloved princess hostage because apparently they want their buddies to be released from prison. Looks like Fenris has some sort of arrogant personality because even in this situation, the girl triggers the kidnappers that their friends won't be released no matter what. Someone silences her before she ends up getting someone killed. And lucky for her, these people were instructed not to kill the holy swordsman as they were kept to be sacrificed for the goddess. That actually rings a bell in MC's head as the boy teleports without the bad guys noticing. Whereas, the princess is forced to sail the ship to the capital as it runs only by her command. But before they would start their journey, the princess reveals that they are about to sail directly into a void reef. Even though it scares everyone, Sharnak instructs them to crash the ship into the reef, because she finds it a perfect offering for the goddess if the holy swordsman gets tainted by a miasma of nothingness. Besides, she doesn't give a damn about Bastia's plan, and as the leader tries to stop her, Sharnak burns the crap out of that guy. As they are at it, the princess's pet, the royal family's carbuncle, walks towards Regina and tells her about the princess being in danger. So as the ship breaks the ropes and starts to sail away, Regina immediately jumps towards the staircase, though we're not sure if she made it or not. MC, on the other hand, gets lost in the cruise, but luckily he bumps into Regina and Carbuncle. There, the story takes an interesting plot, because Regina seems pretty worried as she reveals that her little sister is in trouble. Carbuncle believes he knows the way to the main bridge, so Regina entrusts him to guide them. At the party hall, Fenris attempts to converse with the beastmen, inquiring about their arrival. The wolf-like creature smirks, hinting at Hide's recent fusion of his holy sword. Seizing the opportunity, Elfine informs Sally about her analysis of the bomb. Sally expresses bewilderment regarding Elfine's method, which involves concealing her holy sword behind the chandelier. Elfine further explains that the bomb is not reactive in nature, requiring a holy sword user's magic power for activation. Regrettably, neutralization is impossible. Only a 1-second delay can be achieved. Salia thinks if they work together, they can easily deactivate the bomb. She looks around and notices a fork. She decides to poke it into her finger, making her bleed to activate her Vampire Queen power. She could have used to attack on Titan style. Using the fork was so unepic. Meanwhile, Regina and Lena manage to reach the main bridge, but it is empty while technically it is filled with corpses. Lena wonders where they took the princess. Regina then picks up Carbuncle, mentioning there's a chance where they can create a link to talk with Ulteria. However, she isn't sure if she can form that link. Lena tells her that she can do it because she believes in her. After all, she wants to protect her little sister. She returns to her relaxed phase and decides to give it a try. She holds the carbuncle and concentrates, trying to talk to the princess. The princess replies, asking who Regina is. She lies about her identity, mentioning she also can use spirit power, and asks where the princess is. The princess pleads with Regina to prioritize saving the people trapped inside the ship rather than focusing on her rescue. She discloses that the terrorists have steered Hyperion away from Black Reef, and the only way to prevent the ship from reaching its intended destination is to utilize Carbuncle to reach the bridge. Regina informs Linus of the situation, who immediately inquires about the princess's whereabouts. Regina reveals Ulteria's location, but expresses concern that rescuing her would leave everyone else to their fate. Then why did she even reveal her whereabouts in the first place? However, Linus insists on stopping the ship and assures Regina that he will personally rescue the princess. She refuses to let him go alone because he is just a child. Linus ignores her words and uses magic to destroy the window. He tells her that he is a lot stronger than she thinks, so they should focus on their missions. He jumps down while Regina tells him to save his sister. Meanwhile, at the party hall, we see that Sally is trying to use her vampire powers to control her blood. She manages to create a thin line of blood, all the way to the guy controlling the bomb. She tells Elfine to prepare herself to delay the bomb. Fenris' incessant chattering provokes the wolf-like creature, who threatens to harm her. Sakuya surprisingly breaks free from her restraints and drops a plate, startling the terrorists. They question how she managed to escape the ropes, to which she simply replies that she used a table knife. The wolf-like creature grows irritated and approaches her, but the ogre girl points out Sakuya's intense aura. Fenris once again interrupts with her talkativeness, allowing Sally to regain control of her blood and prepare for an attack. The wolf-like creature wastes no time in lunging at Fenris, who manages to dodge his attack, execute judo moves, and pin him to the ground. The wolf-like creature, displeased by this turn of events, orders the other terrorists to detonate the apple. Hellfine uses her ball to delay the spell, enabling Salia to use her blood and destroy the guy's wand. Sakuya follows up by pinning Ogre Girl against the table, and the Fenris summons her ice wolves to freeze the wolf dude. Salia takes this chance to summon her holy sword to attack the guy and finally destroy the apple. However, she has some complaints about how Fenris almost ruined their plan. Everyone quickly gets their devices, but there's no signal and somehow the atmosphere feels weird. They check through the window and see how close they are to a Void reef. Void starts boarding the ship and attacks them. Everyone knows their tasks. Elfine and Salia will help the guests to get to safety. Fenris and Sakuya will defeat the monsters. Salia suddenly hears Leo's voice, but she is confused because she doesn't see him. He explains that he is using the souvenir he gave her to create a telepathy channel with her. As the chaos in the party hall subsides, a formidable void, far larger and more powerful than any encountered before, descends upon the scene, shattering the momentary calm. Fenris ice wolves, once formidable guardians, prove powerless against this monstrous entity, their icy constructs crumbling under its relentless onslaught. Elfine, assessing the gravity of the situation, urges her companions to hold back and await reinforcements, recognizing the futility of confronting such a force without adequate preparation. However, Sakuya, her fiery spirit undaunted by the Void's intimidating presence, refuses to retreat, declaring her resolve to face this formidable adversary single-handedly. Her unwavering determination and unwavering courage set her apart, a beacon of defiance amidst the overwhelming power of the Void. The girls take down the weaker Voids and retreat to another room. Wow, where did the girl power go? She then activates her true power, the Dark Plovered Demon Sword, turning the monster into ground squid. The other two finally manage to reach the bridge and Salia says she will cover Regina's back. Regina sits down and accesses the system and inputs the code given by the princess. Turns out it's the name of the star the Regina was born. Alteria never met Regina, but she didn't ever want to forget that she had an older sister. In her thoughts, Regina thanks her sister and tries to take control of the ship's system. In the meantime, the princess is almost being taken away on a plane by Shardnak. Alteria notices the chopper manages to turn away and gets happy that everyone is safe. Shardnak attempts to lift off in her chopper, but an unseen force pulls it back down. She discovers that the Void guarding the area is being decimated by a barrage of fireballs. Turning her gaze forward, she encounters a young boy who inquires if she believed she could evade capture. Meanwhile, Elfine and the others find themselves surrounded by Voids. A child begins to cry, particularly as Elfine has exhausted her ammunition. One of the girls reassures the group, confident that Linus will somehow rescue them. It is actually nostalgic how they used to underestimate him, and now they are totally being dependent on a so-called kid. The monsters prepare to attack, but are swiftly sliced to pieces by Cherry, who also manages to retrieve the snack and vanish into the shadows. This woman and her obsession with snacks. She simply remarks that this is a token of gratitude for their trust in her master. Outside, Shardnak inquires about the identity of this mysterious Linus. He replies she will pay for the crime of messing with his kingdom and introduces himself as the Demon Lord. She gets annoyed, calling him just a kid, mocking the name of the Demon Lord. She uses a fire spell to attack, but Linus easily blocks it, calling it disappointing. Shardnak cannot believe her eyes, mentioning she just used a secret art of legendary Demon Lord. Linus confirms it and uses his shadows to restrain her and her questions her objectives, to which she replies, to create a demon's word. She then mentions gaining the favor of the goddess, making Linus confused. He claims that the gods perished 1,000 years ago when asks for its name. The sword comes out of the Shardnak's body, just when she was about to reveal the goddess name. Linus is confused because that was the sword of the annihilation. Shardnak's body undergoes a grotesque transformation, morphing into a monstrous form capable of summoning additional voids. He recalls the sword, a gift bestowed upon him by the gods during his heroic days, meant to vanquish demon lords. However, consumed by his demonic transformation, he believed he had destroyed the weapon. Shardnak unleashes a torrent of void fire, but the void unexpectedly absorbs the attack. The void abruptly vanishes, only to reappear seconds later, hovering menacingly above Linus. Lumao, the void, just peekabooed him. Linus manages to evade the attack, but his attention is drawn to the smaller voids attempting to abduct the princess. He swiftly destroys the smaller voids, leaving himself vulnerable to the massive void's relentless onslaught. However, Regina, who is controlling the ship, watches everything from the rail's camera and activates the defense system. The ship starts shooting the void with not only bullets but also missiles. One of the missiles has Sally inside, who came to help him. Jude saw Madagascar and somehow it worked. More voids are summoned and Linus asks Salia to get him sometimes. She cuts her own flesh to create some blades and deals with every small void around. Linus uses this chance to pull out his demon sword and uses his strongest attack to vanish the Void Lord away. Then the aftermatch, Salia, Sakua, Fenrist are commended by the princess for their efforts to protect everyone. Alteria, however, notices Linus is missing. Salia explains he is recovering from his injuries and the princess tells her to thank him, along with the girl who can use spirit magic. Meanwhile, Linus is lying on his bed, feeling sworn when she steps in. She asks how he is feeling and mentions she prepared some apple pie for him. She mentions that she will feed him some, but he rejects it. She then decides to reward him for his efforts with a little peck. Linus gets embarrassed and Regina tells him to keep it a secret from Salia.